It's football. I've been watching it for 40 years.
Are you kidding me?
You're listening to Winning Cures Everything.
Game day, baby. Wake up or get out.
Here's your host,
a confident young man, a superb athlete,
Gary Seegers.
All right, folks, welcome back into the latest edition of Three Dog Thursday on the Winning Cures Everything video platforms and on podcast. It is week 12 of the college football season. I am merely a somewhat capable host, TJ Rives. Hello to my wingman. We're both based here in the Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater area in Florida. Hello, Jason Powers. We are back aboard for another week of Underdog handicapping against the number in college football. The doggies have been good to us throughout this season, and we hope it continues this week. How are you, sir, as we begin to narrow things down in these different conference races for the college football playoff, etc.?
We are running out of weeks here. Week 12, college football rankings had a couple of changes in that on Tuesday night with Miami back in the mix, USF Bulls back in the mix for the Power Five. So a little bit of drama here, still building chaos in the ACC. So we got some good matchups this week as well. We hit a couple. I had UConn. We had a couple of underdogs last week.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you to the UConn Huskies for you. Thank you to the Iowa Hawkeyes. Just good enough there at Kinnick, like we talked about with Oregon. And thank you also to Kentucky. Florida got the first touchdown of the game in Lexington and then watched Kentucky put 38 in a row on them. Cha-ching on Three Dog Thursday. Thank you for finding us on Gary's Winning Cures Everything platform with Gary Seegers' excellent content on the YouTube page, on his site, etc. We cohabitate on Thursdays. Also, the podcast audience, Apple, Spreaker, Spotify. Again, if you're hearing us, come find the video show on the Winning Cures Everything platform and on YouTube. If you are seeing us, go find the pod, and you can take us with you portably in your ears with the AirPods, the Bluetooth, etc. on Three Dog Thursday. What we do is handicap college football underdogs. Now, I will say coming up when we get to like championship weekend for the conference championship games and the college football playoff, that you and I separately may not have three underdogs anymore. Right now, our challenge is to come up with three underdogs each. But folks, as the games narrow to fewer games, you and I may have some overlap. We may only come up with three total underdogs. That's just how it's going to work. I'm just letting the audience know that a little bit here.
Good point, because like I said, we real championship Saturday in December. There's only 6 games total.
Becomes a struggle.
Pick an underdog in every game, so
it becomes a struggle to try to figure this out. And we should make mention again: if the line goes up or down after Thursday, you don't know. I don't know. We're good, but we're not that good. We have no idea. And like perfect example, I'm not making excuses for you. You handicapped the Navy Notre Dame game. We did not know they were going to withhold from everybody until Saturday evening that Blake Horvath, the quarterback, the everything key component of their offense, was not going to play for Navy. So we're doing this on Thursday. The line goes up, the line goes down. It's just injury what is report, it on Thursday? And if the injuries come out and we don't know it, such is life. That's why it's Three Dog Thursday, not Three Dog Friday, Three Dog Saturday.
Your BYU Tech, that game went up from 10 to like 13 and a half.
13 and a half. And you know what? It didn't matter. Texas Tech, very impressive, as it turns out last week. We saw some other, what a catch by the Indiana receiver in the back of the end zone. We talked, is that a dangerous underdog spot? And Penn State easily covered, but Indiana's magical season continues. Jason, a quick comment from you about them pulling that game out with Mendoza, the quarterback. Is he in the Heisman hunt in your mind?
No doubt about it. He's right there, 1, 2, or 3. And again, Indiana had not been pushed all year. That was the first time they had to have a drive at the end to win the game, and they did it. Give them credit. What a catch. And can we get Gus Johnson, please, bro? Let us enjoy the game.
Get a lozenge, too, at the end. Poor guy. I mean, I love Gus's animation, but at the end, he's like,
too much.
Trying to call it.
Come on, man.
Oh, and the incredible catch. All-timer for Indiana to this point in the season as they move to 10-0, number 2 in the playoff rankings for this week. Again, I don't want to talk about this after you and I left the airwaves where Memphis has blown the American Conference hopes. Meanwhile, Mrs. Rives, my wife of almost 30 years, is a Bulls grad. They now look like they're in the picture for the title game with one loss, Tulane, who upset Memphis last week. Stay tuned about this as well, because they're actually the favorite for the matchup with Navy. We'll talk a little more about that game in a little bit. Again, you and I each looking for 3 underdogs for this week. Let's tell the peeps that this is the record. Again, we don't shy away. 3-3 a week ago. I say thank you again to Iowa and Kentucky. Look at that on the right below Jason, that the host, if you're seeing us on the video show, is 11-4 in the last 5 weeks. 5 straight weeks of a winning week. 4 of the last 5 weeks, 2-1 weeks. Total 23-10. Show me somebody else that's picked 33 games and gotten 23 of them right on the record. That's what we're doing here with the Underdogs on the program. Let's have a week 12. What do you say? Let's have a week 12. Let's get it underway. And you're going to start right away with a Big Ten game that is the big noon kickoff game. Remember that Penn State thrilling game with Indiana at Penn State was the big noon game last week. They actually were live at Oregon and Iowa in the pregame buildup, but the big noon first game was Penn State narrowly almost upsetting Indiana with a large line. All right, you're going right back to big noon. You're going this time to a double-digit underdog in Evanston, Illinois, are you not? Let's talk Northwestern and Michigan for your first underdog.
Well, except they're not playing in Evanston, Illinois. They're playing in the friendly confines, Wrigley Field this weekend.
Oh, that's true. Yes. In Wrigley this week.
Game. They typically play 1 game a year at Wrigley here the last several years, Northwestern. So Northwestern obviously hosting Michigan. You saw Northwestern last Friday night out in the Coliseum. That game, I know the score ended up 38-17, but middle of the third quarter, when the big Northwestern defensive tackle is rumbling for a touchdown and he fumbles at the 1-yard line, turning it into a touchback, and then 2 plays later, USC out the gate for like a 70-yard touchdown, turned that entire game. Northwestern was right there in the middle of the third quarter with USC. They are number 32 overall in the country in total defense, only allowing 19 points a game. For me, you also saw the story. How about the bogus, what a Bush League fake punt scenario with Lincoln Riley. That's
with
so
USC, where they have the backup quarterback, Brock Hewart's nephew. They change
flipping
uniforms, change the numbers, the whole thing. What are you doing with this stuff that you don't have to do? I agree with you. But Northwestern hung in, didn't cover, hung in. Yep. And you bring up a great point. Thank you for the pick-me-up on me with this game being at Wrigley Field. Wasn't it a game with Northwestern and Illinois where they didn't have a 10-yard end zone because they had not measured off the field correctly before they did it? And so, therefore, everybody had to keep going the opposite way where there was a 10-yard end zone whenever they had the ball. No such problems. I think they've played a couple of games at Wrigley since then. And remember, the Bears used to play there. The Chicago Bears of the NFL used to play there. How do they not know the 10-yard end zones from the Bears configuration with George Halas in the 50s and the 60s? What's up with that? But anyway, you're undaunted. You say the Wildcats, Michigan off a bye here. Real quick, any concern with that? No?
Yeah, I mean, of course, they'll probably be the little bit fresher team here. But again, Northwestern got an extra day this week because of the Friday game last week. Bryce Underwood, again, not a great passer, so I'm not concerned about them torching Northwestern in the passing game. I think just Northwestern, again, I think this is a good defense. David Braun's done a pretty good job there. They're 5-4, 1 more win, and they're bowl eligible, which is a good thing for a place like Northwestern. Again, if you can contain Justice Haynes, don't let him run for 150 yards. This Northwestern front seven has been good. Again, top 35 in the country in defense, only giving up 19 a game. Michigan's not a prolific offense. We've seen them struggle to score points for most of the year. I just think this is going to be one of those 21-17, 23-17 kind of games, and I'll take the double digits all day. Again, a lot of Michigan fans will be in the building in Chicago. We know that. But again, little tradition here playing in Wrigley. Give me Northwestern in the points. Remember, Michigan's path. If they run the table, they're in the playoff. They're going to have to win at Ohio State, but they're still very much in this. I think Northwestern can be a spoiler here. I'll take the 11.5 and run all day here with the Wildcats.
All right, stay tuned for Northwestern and Michigan early on Saturday. That is underdog number 1. I'm not going to waste any time either. I'm going right away with a noon underdog as well. This one with an ACC team and Notre Dame. Give me Pitt at home on a 5-game win streak. I know you went at the Irish last week with Navy in South Bend. Jeremiah Love's got to be in the Heisman conversation with the way that he has run the ball. Again, we've elaborated on this. Notre Dame benefited from Blake Horvath, the quarterback, never being healthy, never even suited up for the game. So that was a wipeout game on Saturday. Meanwhile, can I just say this as a sidebar on Three Dog Thursday? If you're Pat Narduzzi, why are you saying the quiet part out loud? We know that the Notre Dame game doesn't have bearing on the ACC championship game, and if you win the ACC championship, you're going to be in the playoff. Why are you telling the public, the media, and your team this game doesn't matter? They can beat us 100-10. He verbalized that earlier in the week. This game doesn't matter. They can beat us 100-10. It doesn't matter. Why are you verbalizing that? Nonetheless, I believe they're good enough to hang in. Still, your comment, please, Jason, on the stupidity of saying that out. You don't have to say that. Why are you saying that?
Yeah, I don't get why they say that. Especially Narduzzi's a good hard-nosed coach. Surprised he would say that because he's pretty tight-lipped most of the time. And there's no guarantee that the ACC champion makes the playoff if they're not in the top 12 in the rankings, even with the ACC title. Because right now, the only team in the playoff is Miami, and they're in 5th place in the ACC.
Well, again, I think they're going to hang in. They've done a great job with this freshman quarterback who's done better and better. He had the breakout game with Florida State. Mason Henschel is his name.
Yep.
Again, ever since they put together that win with FSU, they have been rolling. They had actually beaten Boston College the week before. They got a win over Syracuse. They put 53 on NC State. They put 35 out in Palo Alto on Stanford.
Yep.
I think they hang in. This is an early game. It'll be jacked at what was Heinz Field. What is it now? Acrisure Stadium or whatever it is that's right there down by the Three Rivers, the Allegheny, the Monongahela, and the Ohio, right, or the Three Rivers. I was there in Pittsburgh in August. Give me the Pitt Panthers. This is early on ABC at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central against Notre Dame. I still think Notre Dame wins the game with C.J. Carr and company. Defense is good. They've been rolling, but Pitt keeps it close. This is the point in time in the show when I point out that over the course of the last 5 weeks, I've hit on 7 different underdogs that were 6.5 points or more. This one fits. It's 12.5 or more. Any final thought on Pitt Notre Dame, or shall we move on?
Pitt's going to have a lot to say in who makes the playoff. Remember, they play Miami at the end of the year in the regular season, so they could be a major spoiler to either dethrone Notre Dame and Miami, or if they win both the games, they have a great chance to be in the playoff themselves. So Pitt will have a major impact on who makes the playoffs in multiple conferences.
By the way, I always love the phrase one-loss anarchy when we had the bowl championship series and only two teams could get in. We got one-loss anarchy right now in the ACC, 5 teams with 1 loss right now. Some of it will sort out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Pitt is one of those teams. Stay tuned. Where are you going next for an underdog? The video audience is seeing it on the screen, but for the pod audience, tell them, where are you headed next? Are you headed in the SEC?
On the Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Dreamland Barbecue for all of our people in the South. Our boy Chris Stewart and company coming off the LSU win last week, a 20-9. Back barely covered the number there. If you were involved in that game, that was a very loosey-goosey game as far as the number goes. You were sweating it out both ways. LSU played, give LSU credit. They played hard last week, held Alabama to 20 in their building. You know, that Alabama running game continues to not be very good. And here comes an Oklahoma team. Again, desperation. They are still in it, but they got no margin for error. Went to Tennessee 2 weeks ago. Impressive win up in Knoxville. Most people thought Tennessee was going to win that game.
Yep.
Oklahoma, number 1 in the conference of the SEC. Total defense and scoring defense. Remember what Oklahoma did to Alabama last year in Norman. Smothered them 24-3, I believe, and it probably wasn't even that close. I know different quarterback, I get it, but they played Kalen DeBoer last year. We know Venables' defense has been really good most of the year here. John Mateer, another week healthier from the hand injury. That offense has not been what it was the first 2 or 3 weeks, but can they be a little better? I think they can. The Alabama defense ain't great. They're good, not great. Pass rush is good, not great. Oklahoma, number 1 team, I believe, in the country. No, that's Texas, so forget that. Oklahoma, I just think the defense here is going to be the keep them in the game. Again, if Mateer can score 20, I think they're going to be right there in this game. This is a game I think Oklahoma can win coming off the emotional game last week against LSU.
And remember, Alabama came off the bye week. They did have an early touchdown in the game, but they had trouble scoring on LSU. Yep. That's always a big rivalry thing. They kicked field goals throughout the game. And again, they strip-sacked Tyler Simpson, who's going to be a Heisman finalist.
Yep.
Late in the game, got the fumble recovery, and you're like, game on still here at 20-9.
Yep.
They just couldn't do anything with the ball. LSU, every time they got it. You believe Oklahoma can. Revenge spot for the Tide. This would be 9 wins in a row if Kalen DeBoer can get it. And again, this game on ABC, 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern time, coming for Saturday. Any final thought here as Alabama now has this game and the Auburn game to basically lock up the spot in the SEC championship game?
Basically, remember Oklahoma coming off a bye week, Alabama coming off a physical game last week, maybe a little fatigue for Alabama after halftime. So I just think this is a spot. I think Mateer, we all thought he was going to be a Heisman guy all year after the first couple weeks. This is his moment. Oklahoma needs this. They got a good enough defense. Can the Oklahoma offense muster up enough points here? This is Mateer's moment here. He wants to be a legend at Oklahoma. Go win the rest of their games, and they're going to have a great shot to be in this thing.
All right, stay tuned. Second year for OU in the Southeastern Conference. Remember, Texas made the championship game last year in their first year in the SEC with Oklahoma. All right, stand by for that one. Again, that's the voice of Jason Powers. I'm merely TJ Rives. If you're only hearing us on podcast, come find us on the video. Those of you seeing us, thank you for finding us on the YouTube page. By the thousands and thousands you've been finding us here via pod and on the video show for 3 Dog Thursday. And we've been getting you some successful pooches, some underdogs. I am going to go to the Big 12 next, my friend. Speaking of bye weeks, both teams off the bye. This is Baylor Bears at home with the Utah Utes. Did you say Utes? The Utes. Little my cousin Vinny humor here on the 3 Dog Thursday show. The Utes, U2 Utes, the Utes right now at 4-2 in the Big 12, right now have an opportunity to find their way into the Big 12 title game. When last we saw them, they were putting the hurting on Colorado with a blowout win. They also have a win over Cincinnati as well. Back-to-back blowouts. Are you ready for the combined? The combined score 98-21 in the last 2 games with Colorado and Cincinnati. Why am I going against them? Well, because it's on the road. It's at Waco. Baylor's had the extra week to prepare. Sawyer Robertson is one of the best kept secrets in all of big-time college football. If you don't follow the Big 12, which I do the Big 12 pregame show on TuneIn, Big 12 Game Day on the TuneIn Audio pregame show. We've talked a ton about Sawyer Robertson on that show. Mobile quarterback, can throw it as well. They're at home. Baylor can run it some. I'm playing the hunch, and I get across the key number again of 7, the touchdown and the extra point. I get 8.5 here. I know Utah's defense is good. Kyle Whittingham is the longest tenured coach in college football right now with Mike Gundy being fired. They were both, I think, in their 21st season, but Gundy fired by Oklahoma State. Huge moment for Utah. If they can get the win for the Big 12 title game, they may, but I think it's close enough. Baylor might even pull the upset. Sick them. Give me the Bears. Sick them here in this matchup with Utah. Any thought from you on that one real quick in the Big 12?
You mentioned the coaching carousel. Dave Aranda coaching for his job, too. You beat Utah, you're probably going to be safe. Again, Dave Aranda is a good coach, but again, coaching for his bacon here. You make a great point about Robertson. He is a really good quarterback. I think he'll be able to move the ball in the passing game against Utah. Again, Baylor typically plays well in underdog spots at home. Played pretty well against Auburn early in the year.
Right.
They've won some games here, so Aranda's a pretty good coach. And Baylor, again, that's a tricky little stadium to play in.
Yep.
McLean
Stadium. Yep.
So, and again, Utah, again, has a lot to play for still. BYU lost last week, so back in the mix there. I'm with you. They were number 4 on my list this week for the pick. So I love Baylor plus the 8.5 here.
Again, Wayshawn Parker is the outstanding running back. Utah is going to try to run the football here in this game. 6 Central, 7 Eastern time, coming on ESPN2 for the matchup in Waco. Yep. Both teams off the bye week. I say give me the Baylor Bears as my second underdog. We rock on, and are you going to stick around in the SEC? We're both based in the South. Are you going prime time here in the SEC, Jason Powers?
We are. We're going between the hedges. Again, another showdown game here in the SEC. Georgia, Texas, the beginning of the year, we thought this would be a top 5 matchup. It's now back in the kind of a top 10, top 12 matchup. Texas has worked its way back. They have been on the struggle bus all year, figuring out ways to win games. Shouldn't have won the game at Mississippi State somehow.
Wow.
Shouldn't have won the game at Kentucky, but I was impressed 2 weeks ago. They put it to Vanderbilt really good.
But then tried to give it back like in the last 5-6 minutes of the game. Vandy scores. Vandy gets an onside kick. Vandy scores again. It got hairy at the end of that game.
It did, but it was 34-10 Texas at one point. So I was impressed with how they played there. Texas, number 1 in the country in sacks. Georgia's offensive line, good, not great in pass protection. Number 2 in the country against the run, which we know Georgia's going to want to do. Georgia ran for over 300 yards last week in Starkville to separate that game. Georgia wants to be a running team. Texas wants to stop the run. So this is going to be a game of wills here, a line of scrimmage kind of game for me. Don't know the status of Michael Taft, the Texas free safety, who's kind of that quarterback of the secondary. But I think Texas wants to put the ball in Gunnar Stockton's hands to make him have to throw the ball. Offensively, if you're Texas, I think Arch is getting a little bit better each week. Is he a superstar yet? No, but they do got a really good receiver. Ryan Wingo averages over 10 yards a catch, yards after the catch on all of his catches this year. So big play guy after he catches the ball. 2 weeks for Sark to dial up some stuff offensively. I think Arch is going to play good in this game. If Texas wins one of these 2 games at Georgia, A&M, they're probably making it with 3 losses. Don't have to
the
win
playoff,
both.
you mean? To the playoff, yes.
Don't have to win them both, I don't think, but you have to win one of them. If you win this one and you beat A&M, you're going to be in the playoff. But again, I think this is a great spot for Sark here. Again, I think this is a close game. I could see Georgia winning. Remember, Georgia and them played twice last year in Austin and in the SEC title game. Georgia won them both. I like Texas here for a little revenge. Outright, Texas wins the game.
I do remember because I had Georgia a year ago in Austin when they were, I think, like a 10-point underdog, something like that, with Quinn Ewers at quarterback. Interesting for you because you successfully went at Georgia 2 weeks ago with Florida in the Don't Call It the Cocktail Party game.
Yep.
You went right back at Georgia again with Mississippi State. And as I like to joke in our situations, you were great on the opening possession because the Mississippi State Bulldogs drove right down the field on the Georgia Bulldogs and made it 7-0. I think I even sent you a message that said, you're already plus 15.5, brother.
Good.
The problem is they played the next 3.5 quarters, and that's where Georgia scored like 38 unanswered points. I like the gusto there, though, here to go right back at them on their home turf in Athens with Texas and Sarkisian. Again, they've played a lot of wild games, Texas. Final thought, anything else on Texas and Georgia? Big implications for Georgia as well to lock up the SEC title game berth here this week and next week. If
they lose, Texas loses. Don't be surprised if you start to hear Sarkisian's name in the NFL. If they were to lose this game, not saying he would leave, but his name will get mentioned in some of these NFL jobs, i.e. New York Giants.
Oh, yeah.
Potentially Miami Dolphins.
Just Tennessee Titans have an opening.
Yep.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned on musical chairs with that. I owe you one more underdog on 3 Dog Thursday. You know, it's been a week or two, and I haven't gone to the Mountain West. So you know what? I'm going to the Mountain West. We got UNLV playing host to Utah State. Now, just like you, I have benefited from UNLV previously early on in the year with a win over UCLA before they fired Deshaun Foster. I have been burned by UNLV as they got pummeled by Boise State at Boise State. I'm now going to go at UNLV in this case with the Utah State Aggies. The Aggies come off of a large win a week ago. So too does UNLV. UNLV has been up and down. They've given up a ton of points. This conference is known for playing wild games, having a ton of points. UNLV bashed Colorado State, which has got an interim coach right now, 42-10 last week. But Utah State was equally as impressive separately in a different game where they destroyed Nevada 51-14. The Aggies are led by quarterback Bryson Barnes, who's been good. Barnes already with 17 touchdown passes on the year. This game in Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. It is a 4 Pacific time game here. 2 middle-of-the-pack teams. The top 2 teams, San Diego State and Boise State, play each other later on in the night. I left that game alone. It's in San Diego. This is middle of the pack. But this is what we like to do. Find the spot. Isolate something, Jason Powers. Something says to me this is a close game, or maybe Utah State wins it. 6.5 is too many points.
Yep.
Give me the Aggies out of Logan, Utah, not the A&M Aggies. This is the Utah State Aggies to come into Vegas and parlay a victory here with UNLV. Anything else here on this game? Anything from you on the Rebels at home? Again, I fully understand they wiped out Colorado State last week, so they got to be feeling good, UNLV. But anything from you?
Mountain West Magic. You've been the king of the Mountain West this year. You've had you've been to Laramie. You've been to
I
Vegas.
got Wyoming. I got UNLV. I didn't get Boise though in their game, or UNLV in the game at Boise. But I've had some Mountain West back. I went with Fresno as well a couple of weeks ago, and they didn't get it done. San Diego State killed them. But I'm going back to the Mountain West. We got to have love for our Western brothers, and I'm going Utah State here. This matchup.
You're going anti-TC Martin, man. He's not going to be happy.
Yes, the TC Martin Show, galactically famous out in Vegas. He's our bud here with this. UNLV still making progress with Dan Mullen, but again, they're going to be on the outside looking in on the Mountain West Championship game here for this season, it looks like, up at the top. All right, so stay tuned for that one. Again, I believe CBS Sports Network, yes, has that coming on Saturday afternoon Pacific time, 4 Pacific, 7 Eastern time for that. Few more moments here. We like to run through other prominent games. On Friday night, I took a long look at Clemson on the road with Louisville. Clemson looked good against Florida State last week. Cade Klubnik looked healthier off that ankle injury. Yep. But this spot, Louisville's one of those teams with 1 loss, and they're apparently giving Jeff Brom a new contract to stay there. I steered clear of Clemson on the Friday night special in the ACC. What are your thoughts, Jason, with Clemson getting 3.5 on the road?
I'd be careful there too. Again, Clemson beat a very mediocre Florida State team last week. I had that on other things on the ledger. I love that Clemson game last week as well. Tough spot to go on the road. Papa John Stadium, not an easy place to go. Louisville probably will be cold a little bit. You mentioned Jeff Brahms. If he's staying, that's going to give that program more confidence, and they're right there in the mix still to get to the ACC title game. I would steer clear of this game if I had to. I'd lay the 3.5 and take Louisville.
But again, we're all about the underdogs here. Louisville with the win over Miami earlier in the year. We had that as well as part of 3 Dog Thursday, I do believe. Or at least we made mention of it to watch out. And that was a Friday night game also. And I'm just double checking here on what you said about the weather, because this is a Friday night where it's the temperature in the upper 50s, it looks like. So not horrible. It has been cold in the South for us in the South, but it is going to warm up a little bit on Thursday, Friday. Here as 3 Dog Thursday unfolds. And then also on Friday. So Louisville, Clemson, ESPN Friday night 7:30 game. Clemson getting 3.5. We both kind of say stay away, be wary of that. To Saturday at noon, we're back to Mrs. Reeves's Bulls. Can Alex Golish, Byron Brown, the quarterback, and the Bulls get it done at Navy? If they do, they're very much in the driver's seat to be in the American Conference Championship game, if not host it. That's a game at home site. USF only 1 loss, Tulane at only 1 loss, and Jason Powers on Tuesday night's bracket reveal of the college football playoff. USF was in the bracket. What are your thoughts?
This line tells me that they're probably more doubtful than confident that Horvath might play. I don't think this would be a 10.5 point number on the road if he was healthy and they were confident he was going to play. If Horvath plays, I think this is a tight game. I think that rushing attack of Navy,
Sure.
I know USF can score and has been better on defense, but if Horvath plays, I think weather could be an issue up in Annapolis this weekend. Again, something the USF guys are not overly accustomed to. Again, if you're Alex Golish, you got lucky. The gaffe at Memphis by not kicking the field goal, you've avoided that. Memphis is lost for you. Go win the next 3 games. Nothing else to say.
And by the way, again, we make mention here on 3 Dog Thursday, that number is 10.5 right now. If you were taking Navy, I should actually correct my graphic that is on the screen. That is Navy plus the 10.5.
Yes.
Here in this instance, I'll just correct my graphic this way for those of you that are watching us. That's the price right now as we release on 3 Dog Thursday. If the word gets out that Horvath can play, do you believe that's probably worth a touchdown?
3 or 4
I would
points
think
at
that
least.
I would think that line becomes like 4.5, 4, something like that. If the word gets out that he's playing. So right now you can get Navy at plus 10.5 for this matchup coming with USF. Again, the game is noon at Annapolis on ESPN2, and the Bulls right now have everything in front of them to win this. And then 2 games remaining, including UAB and Rice at home, to finish 8-1 and be in the American Conference Championship game, to most likely play Tulane, who's playing 3 bad teams in a row themselves. They play Florida Atlantic, Temple, and I think they play Charlotte at the end too. So this is more than likely Bulls and Temple. If you just win, and it's USF potentially hosting the championship game here in Tampa Bay, in Tampa at Raymond James Stadium. Stand by for a spot in the college football playoff. Yeah.
You can't ask for nothing. If you're Alex Golish and you asked him back 6 months ago, 3 games to go in the year, everything, you just win 3 games and you're going to the playoffs. Go win 3 games.
He would take it. He would pay $1,000. He'd Venmo it to you. He'd pay it up for that kind of scenario. All right, so let's see what happens with Mrs. Reeves's Bulls for the video audience. Now I got to come up with tickets for the championship game. If that happens, we got to figure all of that out.
People.
Good problem to have. Good problem to have, though, for the Bulls if they get in the title game with Tulane, and the Green Wave still hope that they can host the title game for Summerall. And you make the one more good point as well before we get on to our final game, that could be a championship game if we get to it, where Chris Summerall, the Tulane coach, and Alex Golish, the USF coach, are both in the running for SEC jobs while playing in the championship game.
Absolutely. No, there won't be in the running. They will be heart and center in the mix, and so they're both going to get a job if they want one. They may stay where they're at, but they're both going to get offered jobs, I think.
Golish with the chance to make $7 or $8 million as an SEC coach at one of these jobs. I don't know what Summerall makes it at Tulane, but he could easily be the Auburn coach probably if he wants to. Maybe the LSU coach. He's in the same state. Yep. Stay tuned on that. All right, one more pooch to discuss, and that pooch is the Iowa Hawkeyes. I had them last week. What a thrilling finish for Iowa and Oregon. Oregon escapes after Iowa had taken the lead and looked like they were going to have a 3-point lead. Initially called the 2-point play good on the pass in the back of the end zone. Replay overturns that the toe is out of bounds. Jason is an official with the striped shirt and the flag. That's the right call. You got to make that call.
What's the official looking at to call it a touchdown?
Yeah, it was crazy because it was bang. I'm with you. All right, but Oregon goes down and gets the field goal in the sloppy conditions like we theorized. Good call on that. All right, so now Iowa goes out west. You were talking about this game last week, that if Iowa had won, that essentially this is a pathway for the winner of this game to be in the college football playoff as an at-large Big Ten team. All right, Iowa didn't win it, but certainly that's still in play for USC, even if they're not in the Big Ten title game, to be in the college football playoff with a win over Iowa. A thought real quick.
Every team in the SEC ranked number 5 and below that are all piled up with 1 or 2 conference losses are rooting for Iowa here. They want USC out of the mix for that a 4th spot out of the Big Ten. If USC loses to this game or in Oregon in a couple weeks, the Big Ten's getting 3 teams, which opens up another spot for potentially a Big 12 team, potentially a 5th SEC team. So everybody in the SEC in the Deep South, they're rooting for Iowa. Iowa can run the ball up the gut. USC's not great if you run it right at them. You saw what Notre Dame did. You saw what Illinois did. Can USC get this game more of a spread it out, perimeter game than advantage USC? But if this game stays between the tackles, USC may have some problems. I think USC will figure out a way to win this game because I don't think Iowa can score enough. But, man, give Iowa credit. They had every opportunity in the world to win that game at home last week against Oregon. Perfect weather, crappy weather. Gronowski made just enough plays.
Right.
They couldn't get it done.
It was a Ferentz game there again against a top 10 team, but Oregon made more of the plays at the end, getting into scoring range.
Where are they emotionally? Where's Iowa emotionally after the brutal loss?
And by the way, USC can run the ball.
Yep.
They're better on defense with Rob Ryan, the brother of Rex Ryan, as the defensive coordinator.
Yep.
This game on the Big Ten Network at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, which I don't quite understand why CBS didn't get this game, but that's for CBS and Paramount and Skydance to figure out how they didn't get this game. Right. Again, large one for Southern Cal. You and I aren't playing it, but we did talk Hawkeyes and Trojans. Anything else about that one? Or shall we recap? All right, let's once again talk about what we have. By means of recap, you will go with the Big Ten team. That's at Wrigley Field, Northwestern, plus the 11.5 with Michigan for the early matchup. And again, Michigan vying for the college football playoff as well. I'll take Pitt in the 12.5 in the matchup with Notre Dame at Pitt. Pitt still very much alive for the ACC title game. Notre Dame alive for the playoff. You took Oklahoma and 5.5 against Alabama. Wow. In Tuscaloosa, Alabama looking now for a 9th consecutive victory for Kalen DeBoer and company off the LSU win in that one. I got two teams off a bye. I'll take Baylor at home over Utah in the Big 12. Close game, I think. Ultimately, I'll take the 8.5 points with the Baylor Bears and Sawyer Robertson, the quarterback. You say Arch Manning and Texas at Georgia will hang in, getting 5.5. Primetime game. Again, both of these teams want to be in the college football playoff. Let's see what happens there. And I'll go Mountain West, middle of the pack Mountain West teams. But I'll take Utah State to hang in, if not upset UNLV. I'll take the 6.5 points with the Utah State Aggies for Three Dog Thursday. All right, there we go. 6 underdogs from us. Once again, any final thought, Jason Powers? Do you realize that after this weekend, 2 regular season weeks remain, my friend? Anything else?
You got the Long John's pack for Buffalo?
I got to be there with the Buccaneers for the Buffalo Bills. 40s with rain on Sunday is the forecast. Lovely to be there in Western New York for a little NFL action. Should be fascinating to see what happens in that game and all the NFL action. Here we're talking college football. Did we leave anything else out? UCLA at Ohio State. Ohio State probably going to clobber them. What else did we have? Texas A&M. We didn't cover the Texas A&M game. They probably are going to roll with South Carolina. Again, those are the teams that are at the top to get the bye in the college football playoff. But a lot, Jason, one more comment, a lot to still sort out, starting with this weekend, right?
Interesting. Again, the college football playoffs changed dramatically from week 1 to week 2 of the rankings. Miami moved up 7 spots by beating Syracuse because what other teams did. You got USF back in the mix because you're Memphis Tigers. There'll be more chaos here these last 3 weeks, promise you.
One more stat, by the way, in the history of the college football playoff, the 11 years of it, 10 of the 11 years, the national champion has come out of one of the top 3 spots from the week 2 ranking and beyond. Okay. If you're in the top 3, week 2 and beyond, in other words, you stay in the top 3. If you got in the top 3 week 2 of the rankings and you stayed in the top 3 all the way until the matchups were set, the champion has come out of the top 3 in the ranking, starting with the second ranking 10 of the 11 years. So in this case, that is Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M, for what it's worth. Maybe it doesn't hold true this year that they stay in the ranking, much less win it when it all comes. And bear in mind, last year is the first year with a 12-team playoff where you had to go win 3 playoff games just to be in the championship game. So stay tuned.
And remember, Indiana, Ohio State will play each other in the Big Ten title game.
Wow.
So one of those two probably drop out of the top 3 potentially.
You would think. Yes, good point on that. A lot to still play out over the next 3 weeks, including upsets, including you got to be kidding me upsets, but that can still happen and probably will with several of these key matchups in the final 3 weeks. Jason, good luck with your Underdogs. Thank you for the time here, as always, on week 12 of Three Dog Thursday, my friend.
You got it.
There is Jason Powers. Follow him at JPO Sports on social media. Follow me at Buck Sideline Guy, BUC, Buck Sideline Guy. Follow us as well at Three Dog Thursday with the number 3 on social media. Thank you to Gary Seegers and the Winning Cures Everything platform. Gary does a great job at Winning Cures on YouTube and the winningcureseverything.com website. Love all of his content. Thank you, Gary, for letting us cohabitate on Thursdays. We give you the Underdogs. Once again, the host is 11-4 the last 5 weeks. Pay attention to those doggies for this week. Woof, woof on Three Dog Thursday.
Thanks for listening to Winning Cures Everything. Subscribe, leave a review or comment, follow at Gary WCE on X, and check out the web store